The Clean Power Hour is brought to you by Continental Energy Solutions. I'm Tim Montague, your co-host. Today on the Clean Power Hour, residential flow battery. We're going to talk about a wonderful Australian product coming to America. SuperHeavy is rolling out and getting ready to fly. We've got some great photos and animations of SuperHeavy, which is taking humans to space. Growing potatoes and broccoli, I don't know if that's news, but it's got something to do with solar. So yes, we're going to talk about that too. And 30
indoors, growing potatoes and broccoli indoors.
Yeah, that's called a greenhouse, isn't it?
Yeah.
And $30 billion nuclear or solar. Nuclear is such a double edge. So we really need to explore this. It is a big part of the carbon-free energy system, but it's also part of a major financial debacle in a place called Georgia. Welcome to the Clean Power Hour, my co-host and the commercial solar guy, John Weaver.
Hello, Timothy.
I'm going to start calling you Mr. Broccoli.
Whatever. I don't care. You can call me Susie. You can call me Fitzgerald. You know, I got two complaints about your opening. The first is the broccoli indoors. The second is that it's residential flow batteries. Coming to America. You got to sing it. Come on. There were little music notes up there. You were given a good guide there, Tim. Come on.
I know. And worst of all, I'm in Opryland. I really should have got my jingle going, but I wasn't feeling it. Yeah. We're coming to you from the Forerunner today in Nashville, Tennessee, where I'm at the Podcast Movement trade show. Thanks to Nico Johnson, who invited me, and I got to hang out a little bit with our buddy Nico.
Tell Nico I said hi. He's pretty cool.
Definitely. And if any of our listeners don't already know about Suncast, which would shock me, but check it out. They are one of the longest running clean energy, if not the longest running clean energy podcasts and media companies. So Suncast Media, check them out. So you have a story for us today, John, in PV Magazine about the nuclear industry.
Nuclear. Wrote about some nuclear. Wrote about Georgia. I'm sure you're familiar with the two nuclear generators being built there, reactors being built. They're 1.117 gigawatt units, two of them. And this past week, there was a new announcement. The new announcement was that the units are going to be delayed again, and the costs will be upped even more. And it got me thinking, wow, $30 billion. How much solar and storage can I build for that? Would it balance out a nuke?
Right.
And so I wrote a story about it, Timothy. Now we're talking about it. And so there's a cool chart about the price of solar panels falling as volume deployed grows. The next chart is about battery pricing. And then after that, I kind of get into the math of what it would take to replace two 1.117 gigawatt units. My math is super rough, but with some adders for batteries and some adders for solar, I'm guessing around 10, 11 gigs of solar, 40 gigawatt hours of batteries at a cost of under 17 billion. And we'd replace these units, probably have a little more electricity out of them. And the ability to get these projects, these solar facilities to 40 years so that we can counter the arguments with a nuclear longevity is that it's going to take a whole bunch of O&M and some upkeep to get those nukes all the way to their 40 years because, you know, most nuclear power plants, like the average age is like 28 years. So you can say, hey, there's going to be an 80-year power plant. Well, that's cool. I like your propaganda, but no nuclear power plant has ever lasted 80 years. So it's a good pitch. But
so there's an existing power station that is online, right?
So at Vogel, there are two already.
Okay.
Two about 1 gigawatt units, older units since the late 80s, 87 and 89.
Yeah.
Now they're looking to add 2 more. And $30 billion. Somebody, some really smart guy who I know said that the electricity coming from this unit at this point, when you calculate all the variables, 27 cents per kilowatt hour, Timothy.
That's expensive power.
How would you like your solar projects to get that sort of PPA on the gigawatt scale, Tim? On the 10 gigawatt scale, Tim?
Very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, reality is it's 10 times cheaper.
Yeah. Order of magnitude.
Yep.
Order of magnitude. That's, I haven't said that out loud yet on this. You just made me realize that. Think about that, man.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah. So it's,
But this is why the United States is not building nuclear power plants, right? And we will not be building nuclear power plants in the near future. We may eventually build them on Mars or someplace, but in the near term, yes, nuclear is on ice because of the exorbitant cost of building nuclear and the falling price of solar and storage, as you pointed out so gracefully in your story here.
Yep. It's I love nuclear. Nuclear is cool. It's just not getting built. And that's why the title is listed that way. You got 30 billion. You have an impending event. What do you feel safer? That's our solar plants always get built, dude. Once it moves forward, there's no risk. You know, once somebody says, yeah, let's do it. Once you have interconnection, solar plants get built. Like I actually shared a tweet earlier this morning after I was, writing this article, and it's a research paper from like 2 years ago that looks at the cost and time overruns of various power plant types. And it's within the last 2 hours I tweeted it. And you can see that nuclear is like 100%. Like the average is double. Like whatever the size of the plant is, whatever the cost, just double it, or whatever the time and the cost, double it. Solar, on average, for this research came in below cost because the price was falling from the time we would bid it to the time we would construct it. And it's like, there's a certain point where you're like, you know what, dude, you're really big and you're really strong, but you don't deliver. You choke. And that's nuclear. That's nuclear construction companies. They choke. And, I'm not interested in building my society upon a choker.
Yeah. I will challenge your statement just a little bit about solar projects not getting canceled. There is a big project in Nevada that just recently got canceled because of NIMBYism.
Yeah, but that's different than what we're talking here. We're talking about construction. Like once we get through permits, this is construction risk. Now you're right. Development risk is not trivial, but development risk and construction risk are fundamentally different beasts.
For anyone curious about that, I'll put that on screen. That's the Arevia Power and Solar Partners V11 withdrew their application with the BLM last week. This story is more than a week old, but so anyway, I was excited about that. It's an 850 megawatt project, 9,200 acres. That is a big solar project, but no more. So things do happen. Is there anything else you want to say about the nuclear? I call it the debacle, but
yeah. If we built 10-ish gigs of solar and it took us 30-ish thousand acres, which would be about 0.1% of Georgia's landmass, it would generate $27 million a year in land lease payments.
Nice. Good for landowners. I like to say solar is good for rural communities. It is resilient, stable income for 30 years. Unlike growing crops, which is a good source of income, but it's highly variable from year to year. So you found some nice photographs that our friend Elon Musk shared of the SuperHeavy being lifted. That's a real photograph. That is not an animation. Look how big that crane is. And look at all those 29 rocket engines. What is the name of the rocket engine? I'm always forgetting that.
Raptor.
The Raptor. What an amazing piece of plumbing that is.
How the heck are you going to bring 29 of those things to work in a coordinated manner? Man.
There's another view of those Raptors.
I mean, each one of those things are independent machines, and they're all coordinated via a centralized computer that considers the direction of the rocket and all kinds of stuff. But each one of those machines is 50 different PhDs. I'm so totally intimidated by the concept of coordinating 29 rockets launching this giant freaking tube straight up. And the tube has a giant rocket sitting on top of it. And that rocket's just to leave it in space, and the tube's going to come back. I am absolutely enamored, scared, everything at the same moment. Oh.
Yep. And here's an animation of what this is going to look like when it takes off. This is a channel called Mac Tech, but I'll put this on full screen. There it is, blasting off.
So I learned actually something this weekend, or maybe even yesterday. Blue Origin, Mr. Bezos' space company, wrote a letter to NASA saying, hey, oh, so there's the separation. So that's the little one that's going to hang out in space. And this is the big tube that's head back home. And this is the giant tube that we were just looking at with the 29 rockets.
Yep.
Just headed back home. Oh man, so cool.
I saw an interview with Everyday Astronaut with Elon on site, and they were looking at the grid fins that were being craned around. Mm-hmm. And Elon was calling them dinosaur traps, like a bear trap, because they're that big. Yeah. Like they could catch a T-Rex. Those grid fins were incredible.
And so this right here, what we're seeing on the screen, it's two separate units that were put into space by the big rockets. And this is what I also partially learned, is that to get to the moon, there's going to be like 10 individual launches that put components in space. And it's just part of the general process, is putting these components up there just for storage. And one of the things that they'll do is that these units will fly from, wherever they are in orbit to wherever their goal is, Mars or the moon. Yep. And it's just cool. I mean, Bezos was complaining, saying, oh, they're not experienced enough to do this. I mean, that was funny. Like, he's saying that the most experienced rocket people on Earth are less experienced than his crew, which makes me chuckle. But
pretty laughable.
I'm looking forward to this. It's going to inspire a lot of thoughts, a lot of people, a lot of humans. So cool. So it's such a giant, weird thing. Whew.
Yeah, it's an incredible time to be alive. The space industry is really catching fire right now, and it's a good thing. I like the way Elon frames it. We should invest 1% of our resources in this backup plan of having a spacefaring civilization. And if we can't afford 1%, then we can't afford a future, basically, right? Because that asteroid is coming. That asteroid is out there somewhere, coming for us
right now. I mean, literally, it's there, and its path is locked in with ours. And there's not the asteroid, Tim, many of them, one every 20,000, 10,000 years, maybe 50, whatever it is. It's just
it's many
of space.
it's many tens of thousands of years between the strikes, but that's all it takes is one. And that's what killed the dinosaurs. And we don't want to be the next dinosaurs. At least I don't. If we could avoid it, right? That's the thing. If we have the knowledge, we have the technology. All right. So let's talk about broccoli just for a little juxtaposition.
So it's not really a greenhouse, though. If you look at the picture, this is a white box, and they're cubes that are stackable. And the reason it's interesting to me is because electricity will be used to light and grow this product. And everybody always tells me, the only thing you can grow inside of a greenhouse or inside of these fake farms, these indoor farms, is greens. You know, these light things that you can put on expensive food downtown in the urban gatherings of the well-heeled, or at least the upper middle class who likes their greens like fine and soft and fresh. Great. But these folks are talking about potatoes and broccoli. Potatoes and broccoli. Potatoes. So first off, potatoes you can live off. If you have like just straight up potatoes, I think that gives you all the fundamental nutrients that you need to live, like all the proteins, the fundamental proteins. I once read that potatoes and wine can keep you alive. They're both complete things to eat. So,
And that would actually be a pretty delicious, way to survive. I can think of worse things to survive on. So
potatoes and wine. But I just
why is the lighting so purple though? Is that on purpose or is that just a relic of something else?
It's optimized so that the light waves that go out are the ones that plants want. And if you think about it, plants don't want green light. They reflect green light.
Yeah.
They absorb, I think, the reds and the purples. And so when you go in these places, you see reds and purples because that's what the plants actually want.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is a tool to make the LED lighting more efficient by only putting out a certain wavelength to use less energy.
Yeah. So this company, it's a Scottish company called Intelligent Grow Solutions, has started inching into this territory alongside its capabilities, helping organizations with traditional leafy green vertical farming. Yeah. And I would imagine marijuana farming, because we're about to get federal marijuana, it looks like, and we already have it in, I don't know, 15 states, consumer marijuana, and then many more with medical, big indoor growing industry. And those grow facilities use a lot of juice. So they need solar on their roof. Is there discussion of that here? Are they trying to do solar powered grow facilities?
No idea. I mean, their structures are too small. I just like them being small. I like them being indoors with potatoes. That was the key driver because it associates with our energy because we can feed them. It's associated with distributed energy generation because food, in my worldview, is energy. And by distributing it and putting it inside of a box, we build some resilience for the species. Maybe we integrate these boxes into our urban region.
I got the photo now, so you can see for scale, there's a car in the background and how tall this, I call it a barn, but it's a greenhouse. It's just a greenhouse with not a glass roof, but a roof. Could be a solar roof though. Nice clean roof.
Could be. Put some bifacial panels up there.
And yeah, put some bifacial panels on the ground around it too.
I mean, it's a super interesting tech. I like it. I like the idea of growing distributed food. I like the resilience that's created by growing distributed food. It jives with distributed energy storage. If we get good at this, we're going to send a SuperHeavy with greenhouses on top of them. And that's how we're going to grow our food in space.
Yep. Just like the Matt Damon movie where he was growing potatoes on Mars.
How did he grow those? Did they literally send a greenhouse to Mars? I don't remember it. I never saw it.
They built these structures. I don't know if they called them greenhouses, but I think they were getting some natural light. It was a combination maybe of natural and artificial light. I can't remember exactly. The thing that was seemingly innovative in that movie, which was also a book, is that he was using his own or his crew's waste to fertilize the plants.
Hey Tim, super wonderful to meet you last night. You're a gem and
Getting texted.
The hazards of working in the vehicle.
Nice.
All right, let's talk about red flow, bro.
So, but you got to sing the song first, Tim. You gonna sing?
Coming to America. I know that song. Who sang that song? Who made that song famous though, John? Do you know?
The movie, Eddie Murphy.
Oh yeah, that's it.
That's where it is for me. I mean, was it a real song otherwise? It seems like just a movie song. I don't know.
Our listeners will tell us. Our listeners are listening. They chewed me out good about selling my Model Y. I have to say that was a little harsh. That was a little harsh, but I know it's dark. I've gone to the dark side, man. There's no buts about it.
I'm glad they made fun of you. I'm glad they got on your case. It's challenging though. You got to live life, and our machines are what they are, and we got to figure it out.
You know, Nico Johnson made me think about something else about the EVs, and that is that he has small children. And so he was describing what his wife does, or he and his wife do when they're traveling with their children, and then having to stop for 45 minutes or an hour to charge. You've got to do something with the kids. You've got to entertain them. They can't just sit there twiddling their thumbs. And luckily the chargers are near malls and grocery stores and things to, places to go get a snack. So Tesla has been strategic about that. And I can't wait to see the Tesla restaurants or cafes that they're going to open up. But that was something that I hadn't thought about because my kids are grown.
So far, I've been doing the 20-minute to 30-minute stops more often.
Yeah.
And I find that by the time I go inside, go to the bathroom, check my text messages, stretch for 3 minutes.
Right.
I'm already there. Then I get back to the car and I clean out all my little crap. I roll down the windows, brush my teeth, and I'm like, let's go again. Wake me up for the next 2.5 hours of monotony.
All right. So red flow. We did mention red flow a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
Is the red flow in strong position for U.S. push despite falling short on capital raise? Interesting.
Yeah, they tried to raise like 80, 90, 100 million bucks, something like that. They only sold like 50 million in stock. I don't know the exact number. Oh, there you go. 10 million out of 17, so a lot less. It's the first residential flow battery I think I've seen. They cut their teeth selling to Australians in the outback who pay like huge amounts of electricity, who wanted a 20-year battery, and then selling to mobile phone companies and deploying at their various locations. Because you got a little solar, you got a battery, bam.
Yeah, the cell towers.
Yep. And so now they're thinking about coming to the US with their updated unit. And it looks like one of those big plastic bins you buy at like the supermarket, at the store for like all your crap when you move, and with some gear on top. So big plastic bin and some, just some gear, and that's your battery. And it's big, for 10, 15 kW, and they're expensive. I don't know the cost yet. I think they're going to be like, I don't know, 20 grand for each one. But it's just cool. It's a new battery. I think people will like these.
And their CEO's name is Tim, so he can't be a bad guy.
I agree with that. I
don't know what was going on in the 60s and 70s, but there's a lot of Tims in the world now. I can't shake a stick without hitting a Tim. All right.
I think flow batteries have a chance, and I think I have another article on the list, whether we'll get to it or not. But there's a big flow battery that was put into a facility, an IT facility in Pennsylvania, and it's the first time I've seen a commercial large flow battery. It's from ESS, the company in Washington.
What story is that? The California?
No. There's a $40,000 savings one. Way down the list here. I'll move it up for you, Tim, because it's just later down there. But I just think flow batteries are interesting. It's up there now at the top. We have that other company, that Form Energy, which has been getting a lot of attention, and their flow battery is interesting, but theirs is like different. It's 1 megawatt / 150 megawatt hours. And that's a cool technology. I'm looking forward to it. It's different. It's very different.
So this TerraSol Energies, though, is this grid scale storage, or what is this story about?
This is C&I. They don't actually have the system size, and so it's a few shipping containers, I'm sure, but it's not grid. It's large C&I, maybe small industrial, and they don't even get into the details of the project size. I was more interested in two things. One, it's a flow battery. It's ESS. They recently went public via SPAC, and ESS has been around for a while. Two, the savings, and it's right there. You can see it right where you're approaching. $40,000 a day in lost revenue because of power outages. Dude, 40 G's. I mean,
yeah, that's the way we make storage pencil in Illinois many times, is avoiding uncontrolled shutdowns in manufacturing. That's where you get those $40,000 a day figures. Like if they're doing injection molding, I don't know what this company is doing.
So 40 grand a day times 365 is 14.6 million. And let's just say they get a 7-year payback. That's $100 million.
Yep.
I mean, it's just a lot. It's just, these flow batteries are interesting. That little data point was interesting. I've never sold one. I don't even know the real pricing. I think they're like 5 times higher than a lithium ion. But, there's something unique, something different, and they're coming. They're coming. I do think lithium ion, sorry, you were about to speak. I do think lithium ion, though, has this amazing co-industry of automobiles that's going to make it hard for flow batteries to compete on the grid, because the lithium ion is just going to get hammered down on pricing so hard.
I don't understand.
So it's called, I can't remember the term, but there's a good academic term, but it costs money, scale, manufacturing to bring the price down for things. It takes time, and we have to build things over and over and over and get better and better, build bigger factories, fine tune things. It's when we manufacture and we scale, the price comes down. Right now, flow batteries have this because they got like a tiny little bit of volume, because that's the only industry that they're going into is grid storage. You can't put a flow battery into a car. But lithium ion is dropping at a very high angle because they have this giant car industry along with the battery industry and with cell phones and with laptops and with spaceships, or I don't know, like there's batteries everywhere now in the world. And so all of these concurrent technologies, concurrent uses, they're dedicating professionals like you and me who try to deploy it, professionals like the doctor and the PhD you and I know who develop it, machinists, this whole ecosystem of making them better. And that's what's happening with lithium ion batteries, without a doubt. I hope Flow gets a chance to scale with unique deployments, but I know it's going to be fighting for its teeth, fighting for its life against lithium ion. But there might be niches like these weird remote towers where people just want to spend the extra money on the 20-year battery. And you know what? Great. I'm very happy with that. And if these guys, I'd love to learn their business model. I'd love to learn what 40 grand a day turns into. I'd love to know why it's been going bad. Be real interested. So flow batteries are going to fight. Lithium ion's not going anywhere. It's going to keep getting cheaper. It's going to keep scaling, and we're going to see.
Yep.
Check this out. Click on that image.
So you found a really cool next gen solar technology. What is this we're looking at here?
It's a solar film. These folks emailed me, and they're about to start their factory. It's under construction.
What's their name?
Production. Power Soul. I can't remember.
Power Roll. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they hope to go to market with a 15% efficient unit that will sell for about $20 in a 1 meter square. So, that's a solar panel from 2015, maybe 2010, actually. 2015, 2010, good window, and $20. Now, of course, need a whole bunch more stuff to make it work, but I'm interested in watching this. It's just people keep talking about films, and maybe somebody will get it done.
And we're going to have a company on next week called Cubic, which is
Yeah.
also doing hybrid technology. I mean, wouldn't you call this hybrid technology?
Sure. I mean, sure.
Micro grooves and perovskites.
Yeah.
Micro grooves and dielectrics.
These guys are really good at making small stuff, apparently.
What is the dielectric effect? That's a thing, but I don't know what that is.
I've read about it. I can't call it up right now.
All right.
Well, maybe we'll look up some dielectrics and solar for the next week.
Well, maybe we can get Power Roll to come on the show too.
Eh?
I hope they're listening.
I'm gonna make sure they see it. I'm gonna email them back and say, "Hey, shared you on the show. Tim wants to talk."
Let's do it. All right, dealer's choice. We'll do one more story here, John.
One more. Oh,
Yep.
well, how about the joint statement today that
Okay.
came out from Mr. Joseph Biden and his fellows,
Yeah.
and 3 major car manufacturers with not a legal mandate, but aspirations of 50% EV sales by 2030.
$40 to 50% annual sales by 2030.
And not even 50, 40 to 50. Man.
Yeah. So I wonder, in the greater scheme of things, when we're thinking about electrification of transportation and, the many analyses that have now been done by folks like Rewiring America, is this anywhere close to ambitious enough to really, reduce our carbon footprint?
Yes, actually, if only because I saw that Jesse Jenkins was defending it, and
Okay.
he might have been part of that group, and he's a modeler. And
He's a professor from Princeton, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, well, he got his degree at MIT, and now he teaches at Princeton. He was teaching at MIT first.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool to watch him and other modelers, amazing ones on Twitter. But yeah, he supported it, and I don't know the details on the 50%, but he's like, no, this lines up. This is a cool number if it's real. And the aspirational thing is just what's coming now. There's other pieces to it that force this, and so it's not just aspiration. So I'm getting a little, talking junk, but there's more there. I just wish it was harder. It's kind of interesting that an electric car company, the world's leading one, wasn't part of this conversation.
That is interesting. And who the heck is Stellantis?
you would do better to educate us all. Maybe you'll teach us about their new car that we can all buy next week, Tim, because I've never heard of them.
Yeah, that's a little odd, isn't it? I'm at their website now. First half 2021 results. They just had an earnings call.
I bet you they're a SPAC.
Yeah. Fascinating.
Yep. So I think it's cool. I like that he's pushing it. It's important. It's good motivation to see it. All those things are good.
I
Don't
can't
mean
tell.
nothing though. If he doesn't have these EV incentives inside of the budget reconciliation tax benefits inside of the budget reconciliation, it's going to mean nothing though. It's going to go straight to trash.
Yeah. We have our work cut out for us politically, for sure. Well, John, how can our listeners, our dear listeners, we want to hear from you. How can they reach you?
commercialsolarguy.com. And we're all over LinkedIn, Twitter, got our website. I write for PV Magazine. So however you like to get the news, if you follow me on Twitter, you'll see almost everything that hits the our website here.
And what is your Twitter handle, John? Because it's not Commercial Solar Guy.
Solar in mass.
There we go. Solar in mass.
Massive amounts, also in Massachusetts. But there you go.
And you can find me at cesnrg.com. And you just go to the podcast link and you can find all of the solar podcasts and the Clean Power Hours. I was excited about last week's episode. If you haven't checked that out, please do. Tesla VPP in the news, Aussie microgrid magic, so many cool topics. And then every week, dropping an interview with thought leaders like Nick Blitterswyk from UGE, Developing Community Solar, Energy Efficiency with Franklin Energy, and my friend Lloyd Cash there. Greg Nemeth, How Solar Got Cheap. That is a fascinating story and a great book. So please subscribe to the channel, give us a thumbs up, and share it with your friends. That's the only way people can find out about this. And, we're on a mission for the energy transition, John, aren't we? And that is a big, ginormous team sport, this energy transition. We need tens and tens of thousands of more people to get interested in the energy transition and put their shoulder to the wheel. So that's why we exist, really, you and I. That's our raison d'etre right there.
I learned some new French.
All right, John, have a good week. I'll talk to you next week, man. Let's grow solar.